On August 8th, Ezra Miller, who had been on the run and underground for weeks, was finally charged. Not for any of his past alleged offenses, even though there are many to pick from, but for something brand new, namely felony burglary. For the longest time, the industry remained quiet as more and more public suspicions were raised about Ezra, but now it would appear he isn't shielded any longer. Acting as a mouthpiece for the Hollywood establishment, Kevin Smith stated that it was an incredibly bad look for Warner to cancel the Latina Batgirl yet proceed with Ezra Millers Flash. And based on some comments David Zaslav made last week, one could be forgiven for interpreting it that way. But could there be more to it? We shall see, for in this video, we will begin with Ezra's most recent exploits, what Zaslav actually said, and what that implies for not just The Flash, but all the DC movies awaiting release. In our previous video covering Ezra Miller, a video which was published on August 4th, but which we had worked on since the day before that, I revealed what Midnight's Edge had exclusively learned from our sources about The Flash. Apparently, Warner has information of yet another incident involving Ezra Miller, one which has not yet been revealed to the public, but in time it probably will be, and it's bad. Bad enough that coupled with Ezra's many past incidents, the sum of it is that Warner cannot release a movie with him in it. That, then, is reportedly Alan Horn's advice to David Zaslav. Cut your losses and scrap the movie now, because the blowback and long-term repercussions will end up costing much more. What to do with that advice is up to Zaslav. Our reporting was confirmed within hours of that video being published, because that's when this bad story that Warner knew of, but which had not yet broken, did break. Albeit behind a paywall. Business Insider posted a particularly damning story. By the time we could screen grab it, it had gotten the more sanitized title Ezra Miller's Unraveling. Friends concerned as the Flash actor travels the US in body armor and faces claims of running a cult in Iceland. But from the URL, you can still tell the original title, Ezra Miller Running a Cult, Grooming Minors Carrying Guns. The article leads with Ezra's rise to fame. For years, Miller has been hailed as a hero of New Hollywood. The actor first caught the attention of critics in 2011's We Need to Talk About Kevin and 2012's The Perks of Being a Wallflower. When Miller came out as queer that year, telling the Daily Beast, "I'm open to love wherever it can be found," fans had found their icon. With his dark, wavy locks and ethereal bone structure, Miller was fearless in a world of cookie-cutter celebrities. He walked the red carpet in a pinstripe skirt suit with a rhinestone bustier and a skewed city life for his Vermont farm, where he raised goats and sang to the caterpillars. By the time he appeared in the 2016 blockbusters Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, making him the first out actor to appear as a major film superhero playing the Flash, he seemed poised for next-level stardom. But in the past 2 years, Miller, 29, has gone from one of Hollywood's most promising actors to one of its biggest liabilities. The article then goes through Ezra's biggest hits, like choking that seemingly pregnant woman in Iceland, his multiple assault charges in Hawaii, the woman in Germany who felt threatened when he refused to leave her apartment, the Native American woman he's allegedly been, brooming since she was 12, and the other Native American girl who is still 12 that he allegedly was trying to groom as well. And of course, the mother with her 3 kids under the age of 5 that he's been hosting on his Vermont farm, among guns and loose bullets, one of which ended up in the mouth of a 1-year-old. But those were just the biggest hits. Then Business Insider got to their new information. Insider has spoken with 14 people who had recent interactions with Miller in which the actor exhibited frightening emotional outbursts, carried firearms, or left them feeling unsafe. Some people said Miller sought out impressionable young women and non-binary people whom he could isolate from their families and control. Take particular note of that. Impressionable, vulnerable people, women in particular, who are in a position where they can be isolated from their loved ones have always been the key demographic of any cult in history. Today, you can add a generation of kids growing up gender confused to that. The story continues. In some cases, Miller had sexual relations with these people. In 2020, during a roughly 2-month stint in Iceland where Miller walked the streets barefoot, rumors spread that the movie star was running a cult out of an Airbnb. Going into more detail about Ezra's exploits in Iceland, the publication said, Miller's presence was poorly received by some Icelanders, who said the actor was aggressive and emitted a putrid stench. The actor, who rarely changed out of the same loosely fitting bohemian clothing, strolled the frigid streets of Reykjavik barefoot, revealing long, pointy toenails and what looked like an infected gash on one foot, 3 people said. One person recalled seeing Miller walking around mumbling. In other words, Ezra Miller walks around looking like a hobo and he smells like one too. Does this surprise you? Let me know your gut reaction in the comments. Miller traveled everywhere with his personal assistant and spiritual advisor, Jasper Young Bear, who told locals he cut off at least one of his fingers during a ritual ceremony. Young Bear didn't respond to request for comment. The actor used an art house movie theater, Bio Paradis, as a sort of clubhouse, with Miller occasionally burning sage to cleanse the premises of bad spirits, staffers told Insider. For most of their time in Iceland, Miller rented a sprawling modern Airbnb in a Reykjavik suburb. One woman who visited the house for a day in March of 2020 recalled several mattresses spread out on the floor and compared the house to a commune. She was struck by how enamored guests seemed to be of Miller, hanging on his every word and seeming unfazed by Miller's mood swings. I felt like everyone was hypnotized, she said. Between Miller's makeshift commune, his monologues on spirituality, and his emotional outbursts, rumors began to circulate in Reykjavik that the star was running a cult. Miller held court daily at the Airbnb. He often alluded to possessing supernatural powers, 2 people said, and instructed guests to participate in group meditations led by Young Bear. He spoke at length about fate and the importance of social justice for marginalized groups. Many of the people who became involved with Miller said they believed in the issues Miller cared about, but Miller often took things too far. One young woman told Business Insider of her experience in Miller's house, saying, she remembers feeling intimidated and trapped. The woman eventually sneaked a text to a family member asking them to pick her up. She said that leaving the house felt like making an escape. I was a bit traumatized for a while, she said. It was one of the weirdest days I've ever experienced. Another 18-year-old woman said she was really lost at the time and addicted to alcohol and drugs. After that, Ezra basically said, my room is your room. This is now where you're going to stay. And I was like, cool. The young woman said she stayed at the house for 6 days. What started off as a thrilling experience, she said, deteriorated into one of the most traumatic weeks of her life. She said Miller exhibited mood swings that left her tearful and confused. At one moment, he would look me in the eye and be like, I love you, and be this really nice, beautiful person, she said. And the next minute, she continued, he would tell me I was fucking disgusting. There was a lot of psychological misuse, the young woman said. Once, the young woman mixed up the Spanish words for 6 and 7. And keep in mind, this isn't LA, this is Iceland, where Spanish is like foreign language number 12. Realizing her mistake, she laughed and leaned on Miller affectionately. She said Miller told her to get the fuck off me and called the error disgusting. Her bandmate, who witnessed the interaction, said he was shocked by Miller's response. Another time, the young woman said she was stretching in a communal area when Miller approached and asked whether she was practicing yoga. The two began discussing yoga. Then Miller started screaming. Ezra was like, you don't know anything about yoga, she recalled. This hostile demon just took over. In both cases, the young woman said, Miller made her feel ashamed for being white. Here it should be noted that Iceland is majority white and overwhelmingly so. It has minded its own business for 1,000 years, has no colonial history save being one, and absolutely all non-white inhabitants have arrived of their own free will and within the last half a century. So shaming the Icelandic for being white betrays something about Ezra's worldview, which we'll get back to later. So how could these Icelandic women, however troubled they may have been, fall and prey to this foul-smelling loon? One woman answered that, saying she remembers thinking Millard was her ticket to success. I was like, alright, I'm going to Hollywood. Ezra was super manipulative. He kind of had us all under his finger, she said. He was able to twist and pull everything that I thought I knew about the world. As to how this woman got away from his influence, Business Insider wrote, when she returned to her apartment, her roommate, who had heard the rumors about Miller and had grown worried when the woman stopped responding to texts, handed her a stack of literature about cults. The documents detailed how cult leaders promise spiritual awakenings or material goods to manipulate targets and how they isolate their followers by cutting them off from friends and family, the roommate recalled. It was the exact same thing I was in with Ezra, the young woman said, and that really scared me. The woman said she was terrified of seeing Miller again, so much so that she fled her apartment until Miller left the country 10 days later. Her experience with Miller left lasting scars. It was only 6 days, but it honestly felt way longer, she said. I remember feeling like, wow, I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. The rather lengthy article also goes into further details about Ezra's exploits in Hawaii and with the Native American gals, but it also writes about Ezra's misadventures in Hollywood, so let's look into that. About Ezra's career, Business Insider writes, even as Miller's career took off, the actor seemed unsettled and alluded to struggling with his mental health. The cults of celebrity and the fanatics of celebrities, that's what governs the world now, he told The Hollywood Reporter in 2018. So you're a politician or you're whoever, you're just a celebrity with a fan club like me, you know? And we're all probably mentally ill. I watch television on the news and I'm like, oh, it's my people, we're all mentally ill together, cool. By the end of 2019, his behavior, once characterized as quirky, became more disturbing, observers said. On the set of Asking for It, a feminist thriller filmed in Oklahoma in fall of 2019, Miller often wore long robes, a cape, and a unicorn head despite scorching temperatures, crew members said. And this ensemble was not part of Miller's on-screen wardrobe. Many people on the set commented on Miller's pungent body odor, and one production staffer told Insider that Miller appeared mentally scattered. It was kind of startling, the production staffer said, adding that Miller seemed to be just kind of floating from place to place, room to room. Remember, Rolling Stone magazine also revealed that Miller appeared similarly whacked out of his mind on the set of The Flash. But going back to this story, a few months later, while filming the TV miniseries The Stand, Miller incessantly screeched, spit, and interrupted the director by screaming during filming. Kevin Armstrong, an extra on the show, said. A second person said Miller would yell erratically on the set to get a reaction. Armstrong said that when he complained about Miller's behavior, the person in charge of extras told him that Miller was method acting because his character, Trash Can Man, was mentally unstable. But a former associate of Miller's said things got so bad that production called Miller's legal counsel and manager because people on set were not feeling safe. It was disgusting and horribly unprofessional, Armstrong said of Miller's behavior, adding that anyone else would have been escorted off the set immediately. One would think that with this obvious descent into madness, someone close to Ezra would have reacted, about which Business Insider wrote, several people close to Miller say they're worried about the actor's mental state and are concerned Miller has lost touch with reality, whether because the pressures of fame has broken him or because no one is willing to check his behavior. Many of the people who spoke with Insider asked to remain anonymous, fearing retaliation from the star. I think Ezra has been enabled because of their fame, their wealth, their earning potential, their whiteness, and their beauty, a longtime friend of Miller's told Insider. Okay, let's pause right there. This longtime family friend just listed Ezra's whiteness as one of the things enabling him. That is cult jargon right there, and it is quite revealing. By using that term in that context, this family friend revealed themselves as being fully indoctrinated into the cult of social justice and intersectionality. What has no doubt played a big role in enabling Ezra is growing up in an environment where he is surrounded by people like this family friend. They don't realize how brainwashed they are because they reside in a little bubble where everyone is. But that's how you create an Ezra Miller, and that's how you create many more of Ezra's victims. Those close to Miller said executives at Warner Brothers, the studio behind both the Fantastic Beasts franchise and the DC Extended Universe films in which the Flash character has appeared, as well as Miller's parents, seem to have done little to try to get him help. Warner did not respond to requests for comment. Going back to where we started, with our video from last week, that's obviously how Warner knew this really bad story was coming. They had been asked to comment on it. What we said in that video was that according to our sources, Alan Horn had advised David Zaslav to cut his losses and drop both Ezra and the Flash. What we did not know was what Zaslav would do with that advice. In the days following that video though, it turned out that if nothing else, Zaslav is keeping the Flash. In the immediate aftermath of cancelling Batgirl, David Zaslav told the industry, "We have seen the Flash, Black Adam and Shazam 2. We are very excited about them. We have seen them. We think they are terrific, and we think we can make them even better." What the trades and the industry took away from this was that since he named the Flash, he is behind it and is committed towards releasing it. On their own accord, Deadline Hollywood added, "Deadline heard recently from those who saw a test marketing screening of Flash that it's indeed amazing, especially as it involves Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton's Batmans in a multiverse on par with Spider-Man No Way Home." Which, incidentally, also confirms our reporting of last week. But with that, cue Kevin Smith and everyone else complaining that the Latina Batgirl was cancelled, while Ezra's Flash still will be released. Oh, the whiteness of it all. Here's the thing though. As we've maintained in earlier videos, the already filmed Batgirl and the in-development Supergirl were both cancelled because they went down an ideologically driven path. That would do for DC what Paul Feig did for Ghostbusters, and severely damage the brand. The Flash, however, merely set those movies up, and even that can be fixed with mild reshoots. But the Flash won't be getting mild reshoots. Let's look at that quote from Zaslav again. "We have seen the Flash, Black Adam and Shazam 2. We are very excited about them. We've seen them. We think they are terrific, and we think we can make them even better." That's code for that both the Flash, Black Adam and Shazam 2 all will be going back for reshoots. But Zaslav also said, "Our ambition is to bring Warner's back and produce great high-quality films. We can build a long-term sustainable growth business out of DC. We're not releasing a film before it's ready." That's code for that no expense will be spared, and that reshoots could be very extensive, which they would have to be in order to scrub Ezra Miller from every single frame in The Flash. Now, to be clear, our sources don't know exactly what Zaslav plans on doing, but they do maintain that the option of scrubbing Miller entirely, very much so, is on the table. Either way, Zaslav may stay behind The Flash, but he didn't say a word about Ezra Miller, which alone is significant in this situation. What that tells us is that a Flash movie will be released, but it won't be quite the same version of it they have in the can right now. What do you make of all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.